Thanks for joining us here on Service School Stories. Your hosts for this season are Alec Emmert, Service School CEO and Navy veteran,
and Sydney Mathis, Chief Program Officer and former college admissions officer. This season will cover topics as it relates to higher education, military service transition, and career opportunities and outcomes for veterans. Join us as we share student stories, inside tips from the admissions office, and conversations with employers actively hiring student veterans. Here we go.
Welcome to the podcast. I am Alec Emmert, CEO of Service School, and today we have Ayleen Villareal with us. Ayleen served in the U.S. Air Force, and she went on to attend Harvard University, where she is currently a rising junior. So welcome to the podcast, Ayleen. Would you mind introducing yourself to our listeners and just telling us a little bit about yourself, where you came from, and what your background is before you joined the military?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Alec. Okay, so hello everyone that's listening. My name's Ayleen. I am from Texas, from the town of El Paso, Texas. It's a border town. And since it's a border town, that means that I am a daughter of Mexican migrants that moved into the United States. I lived in Texas until I was about like 19 years old, and straight out of high school, I decided to join the Air Force. And I served there for 4.5 years. And by the last 6 months through to a year, I really decided that I really wanted to pursue higher education. And I just wanted to like give it a shot, because life is short and anything can really happen. So I just decided to apply to schools that I really, really wanted to go to. And, to be quite frankly, for those who have been in the service, I was in the military, I was I was getting paid every 15 days, that's a stable job. I serve as an intelligence analyst, so I was intel for the Air Force. So that's also already a pretty good job, and I did really tell myself, well, if I'm gonna leave the Air Force and leave a stable paycheck, it has to be worth it, and that really pushed me to look at other opportunities in the civilian sector and just really apply and try for that.
Very cool. So let's take a step back. So, what made you pick the Air Force out of all the services?
Yes, because it's the best branch. I funny story. I initially was gonna be Navy, just because I was a high school swimmer and I was a swimmer. But honestly, like being in the sea and being at near the water all the time does get a little annoying for me. So I did really wanted to stay dry land and just do Air Force also because I did hear that that's where you get treated better. So I really wanted to do the Air Force because of that.
Yeah, cool. And then, what made you pick the intelligence specialty?
Yeah. So when I was in the recruiter's office, I definitely just took the ASVAB, and it was very. They just told me I qualified for certain jobs, and honestly, I was 19 years old and I didn't know what I was doing. So I just picked some that look cool, back straight out of high school. You're gonna join the military, and it's like, hey, well, this sounds cool, yay! So I just picked that, and I later, 2 weeks later, I got a call from my recruiter said that I got intel, and honestly, I did not know what it was at all. But I found out quite soon.
Not very cool. So, and so, I'm interested to know at what point in your Air Force journey did you start thinking that you'd want to take it to the next, you'd want to get out and then pursue higher education.
Yeah. So like I always like wanted to pursue higher education, but I did wanted to join the military really badly. So that happened, but like after four years in it, you do start thinking, okay, well, what could be the next step? You know, and I will say that I did have a life or death experience, and it definitely opened my eyes to like, hey, what is something that you, if you had like 1 year to live or stuff like that, got really philosophical about that afterwards. And what is it like that you would like to do within that last year that you have, and I always really wanted to go to Harvard. It has been my dream school since I was like 8 years old. And I was like, well, I really did remember something that one of my sergeants and supervisors said to me was that, if you don't ask, like, the answer is always going to be no. So I took that to a whole other level, and I really decided to apply to 4 Ivy League schools. And I just wanted to do it, because if I got rejected, okay, cool, then on to the next step. Who knows? Knowing myself, I'll probably apply like a year or 2 years later, just to like keep trying. But after that, you do start reprioritizing what you want for your future and your life, because you're not 19 anymore. You are a little bit older by then, and you do start thinking, well, where am I? Is my path gonna be staying in the military for 20 years and retire, or do I really want to do something else and still help the country, and still help people? So that's where all that thinking went into.
Gotcha. And so we talked to a lot of veterans who are interested in, and you mentioned you applied to 4 Ivy League schools. What did you do to prepare for those applications, and how did you set yourself up for success? Because we all know Harvard's not the easiest school to get into, and it's one of those schools that a lot of people dream about going to. You talk about how you dreamed about going there when you were 8 years old, but very few people actually are able to do that. And so, what did you do to kind of take that dream and turn it into a reality?
Yes. So whenever, after that life or death experience, I definitely went to the Harvard college website, and I don't know why, but like I was just like, well, I've been wanting to go to this school for the longest time, but it's not like I actually ever went to their website, so I went to the website, and I was just like, reading like all the type of words and pictures that they show, so they can attract more people, than it already does. And I was just like, okay, well, okay. So for some reason, I really just thought about like, okay, like what about veterans? Like, are there any veterans at these schools? It was just like a random thought. Like, is this even a thing? Because you don't hear about that, to be quite frank. You don't hear about veterans at Ivy Leagues or top 15 schools in the nation, unfortunately, unless it's like really extreme cases. So I definitely went, and I just scrolled down, and it actually had like a veteran section or something like that. It was quite small, but it was um appealing, so I clicked on it, and then it took me to this link that said that if you can partner with this organization, or something like that, that if you could just talk to this organization, and they will help you in the application process. And that happened to be the amazing service to school, and so I was like a little bit confused, because I was like, I didn't know where that was like gonna lead me into, because you don't see opportunities like this. That's just the reality. There's not a lot of out there that at least I had seen at the time, and I was active duty. So I clicked on the service to school vet link, and it took me to uh, y'all's website, and I saw that I could sign up, to get help, to like so they can review my application, just like see for some grammar issues, or just have an ambassador just like work with me. So at the time, I had no idea what any of that meant, honestly. Like, I didn't know what that was at all. But I was like, well, I'm already here, so I'll just sign up. So I signed up with my name, my email, and they said the screen said it was gonna contact me once they have stuff set up for me. And yeah, I sent it, and honestly, I had a lot of hope, but like I said, the opportunities for veterans for higher education, especially really selective schools, there's not a lot. So I did the sign up, but I honestly did not expect much. I was like, okay, it's just another dream that's going to die or something. But I left the website and I just kind of went about my day. And like 2 hours later, I did get an email back from Service to School saying that, hey, we have an ambassador and he's gonna reach out to you and they can help you out with any questions that you have. And when will you be able to meet via Zoom or via phone call? And I was really, really surprised after that. I was like, wow, this actually followed through, and after that, eventually, this happened literally at the beginning of 2020. So right before the pandemic, and for the whole year, I got to meet Jim Selbe, who's now retiring from service to school, but has done an amazing job both in the Marine Corps and both as a veteran for and helping people. So I worked with Jim Selby for literally all of that year because I just really care about this. I saw that somebody was actually willing to help, which was him and Service to School Organization. And I saw that not just that, but that the IBs or the top schools were taking uh, like initial steps and were taking steps to partner with an organization like Service to School to help veterans. So something like that is actually really, really, really surprising. It is really surprising only because, like I said, you don't see that. So that happened, and after that, like I got my admissions letter, and it all it all went it definitely my life definitely took a turn, but I was ecstatically happy, like really happy.
Yeah, I can imagine. But yeah, and tell us how you prepared for Harvard. Did you take any classes when you were in the Air Force, or were there what kind of academic preparation did you do before you applied?
Yeah, I so in high school, I did graduate like as a top student, but I wanted to go into the military. I really wanted to serve. So in high school, like I was already exposed to like college material since high school because I took college credit courses and dual credit courses. Um, so then eventually, that's how obsessed I was with higher education. But I was in the military, so it's like it, I was reaching out for two things, the military and education. But I mean, you know that the military is always gonna come first, no matter what. You may have a plan, but you're gonna be like, yeah, you can't do this, so you're gonna be sent to this location. I'm like, oh, okay, So military always comes first. At least it did for me. Um, so after that, I I also got training, to be trained as an intelligence analyst. That lasted a year. So I think that whether you're training um, is like 2 months, a month to a year, 2 years, or 2+ years, as being trained for the job for the military. All of that actually does help you, because in the end, you're getting tested out for certain things. So it's not like all of that's going in vain and you're like starting college like completely unaware of how to like listen to somebody telling you instructions or like learning something. So all of those things definitely come through eventually. So I feel like that helped me a lot because I had dual credit classes in high school. I went through a whole year of intelligence training, which was really, really intense. And after that, I did settle on my duty station for like a year without having any any online classes. But what happens that first year when you get to your duty station? You start training on the job. You start actually doing your job. So all of those things that you actually start doing, start learning, and start practicing, and you have instructors there showing you what to do. And if you don't do it right, I mean, there's probably gonna be an issue. So you're trying to strive to do it right, as much as you can. So, all of those things and all of those habits, that's what you do in college. in the end, and quite frankly, sometimes all of those things quite be maybe even harder than college itself at one point. So after that 1 year training that I learned the job and everything, already I'm at duty station in Missouri. I did have a little bit more free time and more leeway, so I did ended up taking some online courses. I started taking
Mhm.
just online courses, very basic general courses for college credit. So that also helped me, and they were like 8 week courses, so it's like it's a little bit more cramped up rather than 3 month classes. So you start, and I'm not saying, but I did that, but like you don't really need all of that. So it is a lot more of like looking back now, like what's the stuff that has helped me succeed, to be quite frank, at a place like Harvard or just honestly college in general. You only need like three or four things. It's just like persistence, ambition, patience, and how much you really want to do this. Like that's really all it comes down to. Like you don't have to take all these online courses like and all do all these high school credit courses. They do help, but it is just another part of your life. And also I'm pretty sure there's other like organizations for the students and veterans that do want to take some type of prep work prior going to these type of schools, such as the Warrior Scholar Project and stuff like that. It is they are out there, but it's not like an absolute must. If you don't take that, like you're gonna completely fail in once you're in a college student, completely be really bad at it. Like it's not a guarantee. It's not like that. You just have to really take it as a one other step in your life and realize that also. I mean, it is supposed to be hard. That's where imposter syndrome comes in. But it is supposed to be hard.
Yeah. No, 100%. I hear that. And what would you get? What kind of advice would you give someone who's because you talk about how it's a hard path. What advice would you give someone right now who's thinking about going to Harvard, who was in your shoes, say 4 years ago, who's on active duty, who's got dreams of going to Harvard, and is trying to figure out how to set themselves up for success?
I think there's like three stages of all of that. The first stage is getting like ready for to apply. Actually dedicate time, because when you do apply to these schools, the admissions officers have like a max of like maybe like 7 to 10 minutes, maybe a little bit more, to look at your glance at your application. And you also have to be open minded that like they don't know who you are at all, and you're giving who you are in that application. After you write that application, depending on how you do it, how it comes out, it's giving a glimpse of who you are. But realistically speaking, there's like a lot of people in this world. So that's why, just be honest about what you are as a person, who you are, and what you really want to do. Because honesty is just no, it's just it's nice. You get to know who this person really is, and after that, like the officers can be like, oh, I really want to meet this person, and they haven't even it just by glancing at something that you wrote. So prepare for it. Service to school will help you. And they so have that process, and also think that stuff takes time. You can write a personal essay, but it's not going to be your final essay. That you can go through like five personal essays until you finish polish it. So actually take that seriously. And after that, once you do get accepted, you're gonna be really excited. You're gonna have all these like you're gonna be like, wow, I'm going from whether it is active duty, reserve, or guard, military, to this really nice school. There's that process of like, wow, you're gonna be going through a lot of change. Like you're gonna moving places. For those who are moving places, you're gonna be emotionally and mentally like having to like shift gears, realistically speaking. You're like you have freedom now in some sense, you know. So there's a lot of stuff there. So just prepare for that because it it will take some energy from you, you know. So then you get to a third stage when you actually start doing the schoolwork and you actually start classes, like your first semester, your second semester, you know. And that's the third stage where you are in a completely different environment than what you're used to. There's people from all over the world. There are people who, you know, it is going to be there are going to be some differences, you know, because not everyone is like pro military, you know, pro war or anything like that, you know. So there is going to be a lot of different perspectives, but that is just how the world is, you know. So there's going to be a lot of change, but you know, in reality, once you get to your classes and stuff like that and you start getting the hang of like the homework, whether it's an essay or the p sets, which are the problem sets, like you do have to realize like the only thing that you do have in common with everybody else there in the school is that you want something way bigger and way more than what you had. You know, you want something more. You want to keep persisting. So you're going to have ambition, you're going to have persistence, you're going to have patience. And what do you really want? You know, because you're there for a reason because you want something out of it. So that's honestly something that can is really going to unite you to everybody else, you know. When it comes to the imposter syndrome, like the only way to tackle imposter syndrome, like in my perspective, in my opinion, is that well, you already been through a bunch of stuff in the military as a military member, you know, like when you a lot of us when you first started in the military and when you would you know when you first started like first day on the job or maybe first day in training or any of the like not all of us like were experts. You know, you did a lot of us did struggle along the way, you know, maybe um a few a few like sergeants just being in your face about it, you know, just a bunch of like yelling and uncomfortable situations that, you know, like you're younger and you're like, this is really bad. um, but you weren't an expert, you know, you were not. And if you were, that's great for you, but a lot of us were not. You were getting accustomed to this new lifestyle, you know? So it's the same thing in college. Like, yes, the classes and some coursework is going to be really heavy and you are going to lose sleep over it, but that is also college, you know? So you have experienced really like messed up situations in the military, some of us, you know, and that's just going to help you, you know, because you have built up that resiliency, you know, like to be quite frank, you have built that up. And it's just college, the hard, like the higher education, the really exclusive colleges, we should throw a bunch of work at you. It's just another stage in your life, another situation. And that's, I mean, that's my perspective of combating the imposter syndrome is that like, I mean, it is going to be hard. It has been hard for some classes. They are harder to do than others, you know. So, but that's in the end, then go whenever you are stuck, you know, do think, okay, why am I here? Well, you wanted to be there in the first place, you know, like you wanted that. Maybe if it wasn't hard, maybe you wouldn't want it. So it is going to be challenging, but think about it this way, like the fact that it's challenging is probably a good thing because eventually after 4 years you're going to be through it and you're going to graduate and you're going to look back and say, dang, I did that, you know. And there's not a lot of veterans at these schools, you know, so that's a huge accomplishment, being in the military and then being in an exclusive school and graduating from it. That's just really nice, you know, that's just really amazing. And yeah, like I think that's the key in all honesty.
Gotcha. And I think that what you touched on there is really important because all of us, I think, or well, a lot of us in the military, when we leave the military, we have this idea that certain colleges are very, you know, very elite, that they were kind of unattainable. I had that. I know I struggled with that myself, and in my sense, where I went to graduate school, that you'd say things when you're in the military, you say things like, "Oh, there's all those Ivy League kids," and things like that, and you wouldn't really think that you could ever really be one of them. But then you wake up one morning, you are one of them, and you're like, do I really fit in here? Do I really belong here? And then it always takes like, almost a year or two to kind of really believe that you do belong there. So I definitely really hear what you said, and it resonates with me as well. I just wanted to switch gears slightly just to talk about your experience with your service as school ambassador. And you also mentioned Jim Selbe. How did they help you with the application process and get you prepared for Harvard?
Yeah. So I mostly work with Jim Selby because at first, back then I was a pre-med student, but I got assigned to an ambassador that I was already applying to medical school. So I just let like in the service to school, like the administrators know that like I'm not a student that's going to apply to medical school just yet because I'm going for a bachelor's degree. So then Jim Selby just took me in, and I just ended up working with him in the end. So the way that he helped me is that like I definitely had a lot of questions, but like sometimes you don't really know what those questions really are. You just know that like you have a question, but like you don't sometimes even know what it is. So I definitely got help from him in a way that he connected me with the military coordinators at the schools that I was looking to apply, and he told me that I should probably set up like a meeting or a Zoom meeting with them, or like a call or anything like that, to ask them questions and inform myself about the veteran life in those schools, about what they do, what their goal is. Also, like, hey, like for my application, like what are some type of like helpful tips, They're not gonna tell you what to write, and how to write it, but like something helpful, like any of that helps. And then also I was looking for, so you know how like for when you apply to these colleges, they ask for a personal essay and they ask for their separate small questions. They're like usually like 200 words max that you write, and they're all independent for each school. So whenever you do that, like it ends up being like a lot of writing, you know and a lot of us haven't written that much in a long time. So it I did ask him, who can like look over these, and who can check for the grammar, who can like make it make sense, because you might feel confident, but like does it really make sense to somebody else? Because if you start putting a bunch of words there like that are like military terms, somebody else that's a civilian, they're not going to understand what you're saying. So there's definitely ways to bridge that gap, and that's through the help of like the service to school ambassadors and Jim Selby, that he connects you with people who can like literally, like he connected me back then with it was an actually English teacher at Columbia University, and she was like, yeah, I'll read it over, and she read over my personal essay and she made some edits, and that was amazing, from an Ivy League English teacher. I mean, I'll take it any day. So I think that there's like a lot of help, that you can get, like whatever you really like think that you can be helped with, like when it comes to the application, when it comes to bridging the gap between those schools and you, because that's what service to school does. It's like it's literally a bridge, because there's like it's like if you picture it, it's you as an active reserve or guard member in the military, and then there's these schools, so it's like, well, who is the middleman that can really help both ways understand about each other? So that's how it was for me.
Oh, that's fantastic. And no, and we really like stories like yours are why we do what we do. It's inspirational, just really helping helping our fellow veterans, cross that, like you said, like cross that bridge, and then hit submit on those applications. Because having been through the process myself, I know how daunting it is when you first open them up. You have to write all those essays, and think through how you're telling your story, and then having someone on the other side who can really give you a little bit of guidance and some pushes in the right direction is so helpful. So hearing your story definitely validates the work that we do. So thank you so much for that. But I do want to ask you, what's next? So you mentioned you're interested in medical school. What are you thinking about doing after Harvard?
Yeah. Um, so initially, I was interested in medical school, but that, that's sometimes like the dreams and the aspirations that you have as a teenager, as in high school, and then you go to the military and stuff like that. You learn about a lot of other things, right? So you do change, as a person sometimes. And whenever you already are accepted to college and you do start college and you end up in like a liberal arts school, you do get to explore a lot of things, and I mean, and it could be different for everyone. There could be veterans that are set into becoming like an investment banker, like since they wanted to go in, or somebody else that isn't really sure where they want to go. But that's what also college is for, and especially a liberal arts institution. So I did get to explore a lot of other things, and I really love political science. I really love like laws and regulations. So I went from wanting to major in biology and or neuroscience to government. Uh, so I am a government major, and I am getting a secondary in global health policy because I really want to help people out. And but still, as in like, you can see there's still some like medical area in the decisions that I made, but I mostly want to go into law. So hopefully, after I graduate, I can pursue law school.
Oh, very cool. So you might get another service school ambassador on our JD side.
Hopefully, yes.
Very cool, very cool. And so, what area of law are you interested in? You talked about global health, government. What area of law are you most interested in studying?
Yeah. I know the ones that really stand out right now. They may change later. I might change my mind, but I'm gonna be taking constitutional law this upcoming semester, and I'm also interested in international law. But we'll see. Like, I'm really excited to explore all of it, and it's gonna be a ride.
No, very, very cool. So I just wanted to, before we close out, I just wanted to give you just, a minute or two just to share any like last words of wisdom you may have for our listeners about your experience and how they can basically follow in your footsteps.
Like, I did forget to say, like, I am a look. If you really think about it, you know, I'm a 25-year-old female. I'm a daughter of Mexican migrants, so I'm Mexican American. I'm Latina. I did forget to mention that I'm a first generation low income student, you know? So, when you look at that, and there may or may not be a lot of like veterans out there, but honestly, sometimes a lot of the odds are already against you. You already have two strikes because of the way you look or because of your name, your complexion, unfortunately. So I think that a lot of those things can get in the way, and they can maybe get to your mind and be like, oh, I'm never gonna go into this school because I don't look like this, or because I don't have generational wealth. So a lot of those factors can play and can really mess with your mind. But then you realize, hey, I joined the United States military. Hey, I protected America and its allies. Hey, I saved some people. Hey, I did all of this. Hey, I unfortunately have this type of triggers, due to war. You fought for the United States, like, to be real, whether it was 4 years, 2 years, 20 plus years, you served the United States military. So that's already something, a huge thing, even if it might not look like it to some of you, but you already did that, no matter what your job was, like, at all. You did it and you finished and you got an honorable discharge. You did that. And that's already like a small percentage in the world population, you know? So whenever you're ready to look into your next step, look at that, look where you came from, look at the in between, and own it and just freaking go for it. Because you may think, oh my God, I'm not the number one person, the place, I don't know, I'm not the number one place that plays the trumpet in the world, you know, I'm not that number one person. Okay, well, that number one person, they played that instrument, they're like number one in it, you know, internationally. Okay, but that person did not join the military and went through all the experiences and all the things that you actually did go through. Okay, so that's already like, yeah, they did that, but you also did what you did. And nobody else really experienced that but yourself and your peers that were in it with you. So you have to really like give yourself like some perspective of what you have actually done with your life, you know? And like I said, like my supervisor said, if you never ask, the answer is always going to be no. And when you do get in, and when you already get in, also think about it. And I really want to like highlight the whole syndrome thing. Like, hey, why? I don't know why. I mean, you are born into this social contract, and right, and you always going to be comparing yourself to these uh, ideas and people around you. But why the stuff I have, like I said, I have a different perspective on imposter syndrome, you know, and I don't think that you should feel bad about feeling not enough. I think you should probably look at them like, dang, like I'm not doing so great right now. But why are you not doing so great? Well, because you're actually being challenged, because you are surrounded by people that do know more than you. Isn't that a good thing? To be around people that don't know, that literally do know more than you. Like, surround with people like that, have that type of community that do more, because eventually, like, there's 5 people doing that, you're gonna be the sixth. Like, you're gonna, it is good to not be an expert when you first start. I mean, it is supposed to be hard, and it is gonna be hard, but you will graduate, and you're gonna be really happy about it. um that is my different perspective on imposter syndrome. You're gonna feel like you're not doing well enough. Well, maybe because you already, if you're in a room that you're the expert on, that's great, that's good for you, you know, that's amazing. But after a while, you're not really being challenged, you know, you got to move on to the next level, you know. So I think taking a lot of these ideas into perspective can go a long way. It can really help veterans, you know.
Yeah, I love that sentiment right there. There was a quote, I can't remember who said it, that said, if you're in a room where you're the smartest person, you need to find another room.
Yes,
So
exactly.
love that sentiment. But Eileen, thank you so much for taking the time to share your story with us and our listeners, though. And I'm looking forward to hearing more great things, and then having you as an applicant again in our law school admissions or you know, our law school ambassador program.
Yes, thank you so much, Alec, for sure.
Cool. All right, thanks. All right, you take care.
All right, thank you.
That's all we have for this episode. Join us next week, same time, same place, where we share more Service to School stories. Service to School Stories is hosted by Sydney Mathis, Chief Program Officer, and Alec Emmert, Service to School CEO. Our podcast is produced and edited by our Director of Communication, Amanda Tobias. Service to School is a 501c3 nonprofit providing free college admission support to transitioning service members and veterans. Join us next week and follow us for more on your favorite social media platforms.